Hey, what's up, people? Welcome back. This is episode number 10 or 11 or something like that. This was one of my latest songs. It was released a couple of weeks ago, and that's called D10, which might be read as D10, which is a working title, or might be read as Dio in Italian, which means God. But, by the way, I'm here with a great guest today as well. So I'm going to bring him on now. Here we go, and yeah, here we go. So, my friend Slava, I'm gonna try to say your last name. I'm gonna screw up, I'm sure. Fyodorov.
Yeah,
Fyodorov.
that's correct.
That was correct. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I know it.
we
Yeah.
tested that like few times, and
Yeah.
you screwed up. But now you said it correctly, man.
Yeah, but you didn't say anything, so I tried the second option, which was the wrong one. But anyway, don't worry about it. So good to see you,
Alright.
man. Good to see you. How you been?
I'm all right. It's like 9:30 here in Estonia, and
Yeah, right.
it's Friday, so the work is done, and
Yeah.
I'm just here to chat
Cool,
for
cool. Thank you very
an
much
hour
for doing that.
or
Thank
so.
you very much. So Slava, he is working with a company making plugins which is called Mercuriall Audio, and probably people at home, they saw a lot of videos that I did in the last couple of years, and together we have done a bunch of things, like also the free guitar camp this summer and the previous summer. And Mercuriall Audio was one of the sponsors, and usually some people see me also sometimes in the studio, like messing up with plugins. There is always like some of your plugins in between, like the SS11X, or lately
Nice.
I did a couple of things for with the Euphoria plugin, which is the last product that you did. And yeah, this is basically the first time we actually kind of meet. We can say it's not exactly in person, but this is the first time we don't just speak through emails,
Yeah.
So, finally.
Indeed. We've been chatting through emails like forever, and now it's first time that we are talking live. It's cool.
That's great.
Because it's strange for me. You are on my first monitor here, and the camera is on the second monitor. So I will be looking at you because I'm talking to you right now, and then I will also look into the camera when I have something very important to say.
Yeah.
For example, hi to my wife. She's watching right now.
Cool. On YouTube, probably. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So we already have like some, not questions, but some messages. Antoine, Mitico, of course. How everything going? Everything is good. Antoine, thank you very much for tuning in.
We are alive, so
I think Antoine actually he has a plugin. Because he was at the free guitar camps last summer. So I
nice.
think he's using the SS11X or Euphoria. I don't really remember, one of those two.
Cool.
Yeah. But anyways, let's speak a little bit about you. Can you say something about your background, where you are based, where is the company based? I know that you are in two different places.
Yeah, sure. I can talk about myself. So currently I live in Estonia, but originally I'm from Russia. And before Estonia kind of got independence, our family lived just in both Estonia and St. Petersburg. Well, I'm actually from St. Petersburg, not directly from St. Petersburg, but from a city nearby. And before, the borders with Estonia were closed because Estonia got independent, we were just moving here and there. So my parents had an apartment here in Estonia, in Tallinn, and my grandparents were living in this city near St. Petersburg. And we were just, going by train here and there. And when the borders got closed, my family stayed here in Tallinn. So I've been living here for the whole life that I remember, like from the time I was like 6 or 7 years old. But I still go like to Russia almost every year. Well, excluding this year because
Yeah,
for
of course.
apparent
Yeah.
reasons you cannot go,
because
unfortunately.
because
But
we didn't go anywhere. I was kind of lucky that I made NAM this year, and then the whole pandemic started on my way back from Anaheim back to Los Angeles. Exactly in that moment, I read the message about the virus.
all
So I
right,
was lucky enough to be able to make NAM, and then everything just closed down up to this point.
you got
But
lucky
anyway,
to not
sorry,
be stuck there.
or unlucky. I don't know. It depends on the points of view. I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm pretty good
Oh,
here where I am in Norway. It's cool.
yeah, good. So yeah, I've been living here in Estonia, Tallinn for forever, basically. Um, in terms of my kind of musical life, if you can say so, uh, from what I remember, I started playing guitar in 2000. So it's like 2020 right now, around 20 years that I play guitar. So of course I started with some old grandma acoustic guitar that I don't know where I found, and I was putting my fingers on the fingerboard to do this crazy G chord, which was impossible at that time. And then slowly kind of shifted to electric guitar. And my father actually bought me my first electric guitar. I think it was Yamaha Strat, black Strat with a white pickguard, like a kind of a classical Strat. I think it was with single coils, and I kind of at that time I played through some crazy Russian, very old.
Stereo.
I think it was even like a USSR amp. It was not even a guitar amp. It was just a regular kind of music amp or
Yeah.
whatever. And I was plugging in, and I was like getting horrible sounds, and I could not understand why
You
it
were
sounds so
cracking
horrible.
it up to get the distortion. I was doing that. I had the stereo, and I figured out that if you were putting the volume on 10, it was eventually making distortion. I was like, yeah, I like this sound. So that was,
It
of
was
course,
something. Yeah,
yeah,
it was something like that because it was not a guitar amp. It was just a stereo amp that you would use at home with your speakers. And so I added volume, and it wasn't even distorting. It was like a very nasty fuzz.
yeah.
And
But
then I listened. Yeah.
yeah, but I remember there was one time that a friend of mine he brought me a DJ mixer, and I was like, yeah, maybe I can use it with the guitar and stuff. And I found out that adding the gain on the mixer, I was
Ah,
actually using some kind of a tube screamer in a way.
nice, nice.
Yeah,
And
where
so I
the
was
the
like,
90s, of course.
yeah, I was listening to Metallica at that point of time through my cassette player. And I was like listening to that Sad But True, where we have this very thick and just crazy guitar sound. And then I was trying to do that through my stereo amp and single coils, and I was like, why it doesn't sound like that? So it was a good time to start practicing. Um, and then, slowly I started to record myself. I had kind of a small microphone, something like that, like a for I think it was for, I don't even know if no, Skype was not existing at that time. It wasn't even for internet calls. Basically, I just found some microphone that you could plug directly into your sound, not even the outboard sound card, but into your
Yeah,
back of your
the
computer
integrated.
sound card.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
which
integrated one, right?
yeah, which had this
Yeah,
horrible latency and everything.
yeah,
And I
from
was
laughter.
recording guitar through this built-in Windows recorder. You just open it up, you press record, and it just records on track. It was not it was not about some multi-tracks in Cubase or anything. It was just one really weird WAV file. So, but it was like the experience I had when I started with all this stuff. And then I got a guitar like for my own money. I couldn't even call it my own money. It was like a studying credit. I got a studying
Scholarship.
credit.
Scholarship, something like that.
Yeah, and I didn't use it for studying. I used it for buying a guitar.
Well,
it was Ibanez 2620, I think, like a mahogany body with a flame, no, not flame maple, but with maple, something maple, like a blue top and white binding. I still have that guitar at home. It's a really good one.
Is it
Japanese
one of the first with a headstock going up or a regular headstock?
No, I think it was not a reversed one.
Okay.
But like it was one of my best purchases during those years. I had like a lot of time with that guitar and played in those early bands, so to speak, which never got any records or any live gigs, just, a rehearsal room band, so to speak.
Yeah.
But then, of course, some other bands appeared where I already had live gigs, and then I already recorded myself in DAW, started kind of mixing something, and that slowly kind of grew on me, and eventually I, in kind of a latest band that is not active anymore, but we got some records that were published on YouTube, and some records are even happening somewhere on the local radio. So it was a good experience.
And did you engineer those albums or those demos or albums, whatever?
Yeah, these were not even albums, but those that I did,
demos.
those were like singles. I think we can call them singles. Yeah. The one, I think there's one or two on the radio, and we did like everything at home. So me and the bass player and other guitar player and
we are talking about
drummer.
The middle 2000 or 2005 or something like that.
It was already that this is like 2015 or so.
Okay, so it's almost kind of recent.
Kind of recent, yes. So this was like home produced, and when I listen to it, it sounds all right, but of course you always want to be better. And
well, all right is good. If I look at the things that I did 5 years ago, I wouldn't say all right, but so it means that it was pretty decent, anyways.
Yeah.
But of course, you get better and better, and and you develop, your ears develop, and you know how to use the gear that you have. It takes some time, and then new technologies just kick in, and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And
true.
When did you start working with Mercuriall, and how did it happen? Which year was that? Was a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or something like that?
Yeah. So officially, Mercuriall started in 2015. 15, yeah. When the U530 plugin was released. It was, I think, October 2015. And so somewhere around that time, I don't remember before or after, I was looking at some like a Russian forum that I normally visited, and I saw that release, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Um, I really want to try it out because at that time I was into all those amp sims. There was a lipo plugins, lipo. I don't know, lipo,
Uh,
um, and
I don't think I ever heard.
basically it was kind of starting to um, become big. And I was like, okay, I really want to try that plugin. So I wrote to the guys and I said, hey, maybe we can do like a exchange. I will write a demo song with your plugin, uh, and then you just give it to me for free. And then they said, yeah, like cool, let's do it. So I recorded that and sent to the guys. I think they were happy with that. I also think it kind of was a nice kind of demo at that point of time. And then I'm not sure how, but we with Slava, there's actually one more Slava in our team.
Yeah.
We started
I'm
chatting,
wondering. I'm wondering about the last name. If it's
which is
complicated or
Slava
yeah.
Tikhonov.
But I think we're friends on Facebook or something. Yeah.
Maybe he's
Maybe we got
our
in
engineer.
touch.
He's our engineer.
Hmm.
Not only engineer, but among other many things that he does. So we kind of started chatting, and he said, "Hey, like, we need someone to deal with English emails because in our team we have a person who does English emails, but maybe the language is not perfect, and we maybe could try like someone who could,
Do it properly.
do it maybe in a little bit better way or something." So somehow, like, we started chatting, and in the end, I got into team as a person who kind of deals with public relations. So artists and partners.
Sales.
At that point, not even sales. At that point, it was more like a partner relation thing and public relation thing. And then slowly I was getting into marketing, into sales, and basically I am now kind of responsible for all these parts. So I'm dealing with public relations, with artists, with partners. I'm responsible for marketing activities. Like all the emails that you're getting from Mercurial are being sent by me.
And
Except
probably you do also the translations of the manuals and the website and all those kind of things.
yeah, whenever there's a need to kind of translate something, I'm not like a perfect person. Like I don't know English perfectly. There still might be mistakes, but at least I try. So yeah.
But well, that's how you learn a language, anyways. Like trying to do that,
Yes.
and you get better and
You
better
know,
and better.
the funny thing is that
those who learn are those who, anyways, they dare to make mistakes when they're speaking.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that I was studying in high school to become an interpreter, English interpreter, but I never worked as English interpreter. But my skills kind of got some like usage still, which is a good thing, I think. It at least the studying was not in vain.
Well, I always say to my students, anyways, that the two most important things in when you study music and you want to become a musician One is in the English language, and the other one is also the physical activity, because sitting down and playing the guitar for so long, or even worse nowadays on the computer, producing and doing all those kind of things, you need to do physical activity, because otherwise you're going to regret it when you get in your 30s/40s. But I always say that English is one of the most important things. That's why I say that as a personal experience, because I was struggling when I had to get out from Italy. When I went to the US, or when I started touring, and that's something that cuts you off if you cannot actually explain yourself and speak an international language. So
I agree. Like for me, well, maybe for me and maybe for you at this point of time, it's easy to say, "Hey, you should know English." Maybe some people are really struggling, but I agree that English is like
the key,
an absolute must in our world right now.
Yeah.
I think whenever you go, there will be someone speaking English, at least at some level, to understand you. And if you don't know English, you're in a bad luck. And I think it's also in a professional kind of way, you can open many more doors if you know English. I'm not saying that you should not study other languages. You absolutely should, if you're interested in that, and if your kind of situation tells you that you should study some other language. The more languages you know, the better, of course. But like the very first additional language that you might need, if your mother language is not English, then it should be the one for you.
Yeah. I mean, I come from Italy, and people still study Latin, but they still can't speak English. So I totally agree with you.
All right.
Nothing to say against Latin, but maybe English at this point in time is kind of might be a little bit more important. Anyways, let's go back to us. You want to speak a little bit about because we already have some questions here, so maybe we get into the plugins kind of thing. Like, you want to speak a little bit about some products that you did, because you mentioned the first one when you got in touch with Mercuriall, and after that, I believe you released ReAccess. Was the second, or no? Probably the third, ReAccess.
Yeah, I think I can share my screen.
Yeah, or maybe you want to start talking about the latest one and go backwards. It's the same for me.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see how it goes.
By the way, I have to answer to a couple of questions. We have one question from Antoine, who is saying, Demetrio, what are your favorite Mercuriall plugins and why? At this point, my favorite is the last one, the Euphoria, and why I think it's because it's very versatile, and you can really play whatever you want with that, and you have 1 million options of how to tweak it in a way that you like it. And honestly, when I got the plugins from you guys before to make the sound, a kind of sound that I could work with, it took probably just less than 5 minutes. So it's really versatile, is really easy to use, and you can go really deep into that, dig it really deep into that, and it doesn't overwhelm at all the CPU, which is a good thing, And I also love the SS11X, because playing metal, I don't know why I feel it's very, very extreme, very, very heavy. It kind of add more value to the high output pickups or the active pickups and those kind of things. And still, it's really, really extreme, but it's really, really clean in a way. So you always hear, you have this edge, but you always hear exactly what the guitar is doing. So those two are my favorites. And of course, I'm really, really I really attached to the ReAccess, because back in the day I remember that we were using the, the physical unit,
Tri-axis.
And the Tri-axis, exactly. Yeah. And now we can, if you want to keep going now, talking about some plugins, you want to share the screen maybe with us?
Is there another question? We can answer those. No?
There is probably another one. Let me see.
Let's do it.
Let me import this and zoom in, because I don't see so good. Let me see. So if this was asked, which Mercurial amp sim do you think is best for high gain and which is best for clean? I don't know who is that question to, but according to me, as I said before, probably I prefer playing metal to do like all the rhythm guitars with the SS11X, and probably for the solos and for the because my solo technique is more like related to instrumental music like Steve Vai, Adrian, and those kind of things. So I like more that kind of a how can I call it, more that color in the sound in a way. And for the clean, for the clean probably Euphoria. I really love the clean channel Euphoria.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
and what about you? Of course, you're in the company, so it's really difficult to say because it's like if you need to choose a song over another one in a way, right?
Yeah.
So you have two kits and you need to say, this is
Uh,
my favorite, and this, this could have been better, you know what I mean? So it might be that it's really difficult, but maybe you
well,
try.
I would say that for high gain, U530, which
Yeah.
is the angle preamp
Yeah.
emulation, if you add like a tube screamer there, and it will definitely take you high gain territory, like no problem at all, like no questions asked. And then I think the SS11X is just like extremely simple, and it also does have that nice high gain tone. Absolutely. I think at the moment, like maybe these two are the best for high gain,
Yeah.
but still, like if you use Tube Screamer and you kind of set things up correctly, even the Marshalls in Spark can do high gain.
Yeah.
I think it mostly
Yeah.
comes down to what kind of high gain you need for the mix. For example, I was recording like Euphoria in a really like absolutely metal mix, and I was happy with the sound. Unfortunately, we cannot like play it in our current setup here. Maybe we can do it next time when we would play
Yeah.
some tunes during
Yeah.
live stream for people.
Sure.
But I think it kind of depends
Well,
on your mix.
I did some live stream before, and I used to use two computers. One was for the sound, and the other one was for the streaming. So a lot of people already heard in the channel because I really promote that when it came out, and I did a lot of live just playing the guitar and just showing a little bit of
All right,
the
cool.
presets that I made. Yeah.
Yeah, and for clean sound, I think ReAccess has like really interesting cleans.
That's true.
And of course Euphoria. I think Euphoria has like a really cool this green channel for cleans. You can absolutely do kind of very sparkling cleans there. You can do like a bit darker cleans if you want, because there are lots of preamp and power amp options that you
Yeah.
can play with. So you can really like nail down this sound for your mix. Or if you prefer to play like without any instruments, you can also do that. Just crank a little bit more mids, so it kind of fills in the room nicely, and you'll get it from Euphoria definitely in terms of cleans.
Cool. And then you still want to answer a question? You want to get into the plugins? It's up to you. You are the guest. You decide.
Let's
Seven
answer one more, if there is one
One
more.
more question.
Yeah, let's
One
do it.
question. Let's do 1.5. Okay. There is a friend of ours here, who is Eric Mayer.
Hey, Eric, what's up, man?
Here, he says I'm a big fan of the U530, and then he says this. Maybe you want to read it.
Oh man, I don't know. He says it's two of my favorite people, Dimitri and Slava. I'm so glad that I didn't miss this. Man, thanks a lot.
And me and you, we got in touch through the Noise Factory, where I usually, and Eric Mayer, of course, where I usually do a lot of work there, recording guitars and doing demos, usually post NAMM. And I have been there this year as well because Antoine is actually asking how did we end up working together. I think he means me and you. Yeah, this
How
is
it
our
started?
yeah. I mean, we can explain a little bit like we don't need to spend so much time explaining that. But me and you,
Sure,
we got
sure.
in touch together with Eric, and I heard, of course, the name of the company before, also because even before I was going to Eric's studio, he has a big recording studio, and he was always, showing me new products and stuff like that. So I heard the name Mercurial way before, and I think also Ola Englund did a couple of demos a couple of years back,
Yeah,
and
he definitely did. Yes.
and Antoine says, because this is the first time you say that you're seeing each other's, but yeah, we're seeing kind of in person because we have been speaking together through emails in the last now 3 years. That makes sense?
Maybe 3 or
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
4. I don't like
4?
quite a few years.
Yeah.
Quite a
3
few
years.
years.
3.5. Let's say like this.
Okay, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Need to
started
check
to do
emails.
demos. I started to do demos for you, and then together we did, like I said before, the free guitar camp at Matthias' place, and we did 2 years, and maybe we're gonna do that also the next one. Who knows?
Of course we will.
Yeah.
And I will send you
And
more T-shirts just as I did all those
thanks.
years, and flyers and stuff. I don't know. Maybe
Thank
like
you very much for the support.
welcome, man. Maybe somehow I can make it physically there, but maybe next year, maybe I have no idea what the situation.
I remember last year you were pretty close to do that, and of course this year, it was almost difficult to me to get there, and I live in Norway, and I had to drive just like 4 hours down there. I second guess myself, should I go or not, since the situation is kind of really strange, especially between Norway and Sweden, because Sweden never really kind of locked down. So I had the quarantine on my way back, so I didn't know until I really wanted to do that because everything after NAMM just closed down, and then I made it, and it was great that I could actually support you guys and show the new plugins Euphoria to everybody there, people coming from all over the world, actually. Really brave people, not just because of the music that we play, but because it was during a pandemic. So we can say we did the free guitar camp during the pandemic this year,
Really freaky.
Yeah,
people.
Exactly, in everything, yeah. And Antoine is one of our guys. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you want to go back to sharing the screen and maybe talk a little bit about plugins now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm sharing the correct screen.
Yeah, I got it. I need to approve that. I approve that. Great.
All right.
You got it. You're
all
on.
Right. Let's see. So I will start with U530. I think I will start in a kind of a backwards order.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Where is my? Okay, here it is. Someone says like GTM 800 was my. I think. Damn, it disappeared. But someone was writing in the chat that JCM 800 was my first Mercurial amp, and that's actually true.
Hold on. I'm gonna import the comment. It was my friend. Let me see. Windowmaker Studios. And he says, the JCM 800 was my amp for so long.
Yeah,
and his
actually,
name is Joshua Lopez. We had the live together actually 2 weeks ago.
Hey man, thanks for liking that JCM 800. Actually, what I wanted to add, very briefly, is that before Mercurial started, the guy under name Rock Solder, it's Vladimir, who is the main programmer who kind of came up with this technology for the most part. He was releasing a free plugins. There was I think it was JCM 800, then JCM 800 hot version, then some Capsim, three versions, 1, 2, 3, and the third was really crazy cool. And that technology is still somewhere in development. Hopefully, it gets somewhere to a public state one day, but I'm not talking about that right now.
Okay. But
So
I have a question. I have a question about some future plans. So we're gonna get into that later.
okay,
But
cool.
even if you say you're gonna not say that, but maybe we
Right.
can try to
So
get
like my
something
main
out.
kind of thing that I wanted to add is that even before Mercurial was officially kind of started in 2015, Vladimir was dealing with this kind of AMSIM world for quite a few years before that. So actually, if we look at the whole kind of company age, I think it's more than maybe it's around 10 years actually, not 5. Yeah. I also used those free plugins created by Vladimir. They were cool, and they are still cool. I still have them somewhere on my computer. But yeah, if we like, oh crap, why it disappears? Yeah, yeah. So this U530 was actually the first plugin that got released by Mercurial, and why it was such an important piece of software is because it was using neural networks.
Yeah.
So it's a code that was written by Vladimir that is using kind of a mix of, let's say, a usual code that was normally used in AppSims, and it was also using like code that was created with the help of neural networks. And this code, that the neural networks part, it actually helped to solve some very complex nonlinear equations, which means that the sound you're getting out of the plugin is much more closer to real world than it would be without those neural networks. And think that why neural networks helped to kind of create it is that without those neural networks kind of the plugin would not be able to run in real time because the code was so complex. It was so detailed and so complex that if you would put it on a computer at that time, it would simply not run in real time. So it was a really kind of interesting and maybe breakthrough in terms of AMSIM's idea to use that. So that was like the first plugin that kind of put Mercurial on the map, and the feedback about it was really positive. Like a lot of people said thank you for creating that. And then our second plugin, let me open it. It's here, Spark.
Spark, right?
I will close U530. Second is Spark. So Spark was second plugin, or actually like set of amps. It has 4 amps actually, not one. It was the second product Mercurial released, second paid product that we released. And here the the most important aspect of this release was the power amp section. So like the master section. So many people who tried it, and these are not my words, this is like feedback from customers, is that they swear that like the master section behaves like extremely close to real world. When you crank it up, it kind of adds this kind of a bloom and power amp distortion that is not very easy to get without the neural networks, because the code would be too complicated to be run in real time. And at that time, when we released Spark, a very cool story is that just a second, is that at some point we get email from Steve Stevens from Billy Idol.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. And he writes, "Hey guys, I bought this Spark plugin, and it's absolutely amazing." And we're like,
Cool.
wow, like Steve Stevens, who been playing
Yes,
like
nice.
Marshalls among other amps for almost all his life, is writing that this amp is awesome. And it was like amazing. And I think he shared the release news on his
And I think
Facebook page.
he's one of the artists, right? I think I saw him on the website.
Well, he's not officially our artist. I would call him
He's a user, maybe.
our user of the plugins.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which is even better, because it's basically, as you say, he called you to say, "Hey, I bought," so he paid for his own money to buy this
yeah, we
plugin
were
because
like
probably he liked that.
yeah, we were like really surprised, and
Of
he kind
course.
of shared the news about this release to his Facebook page, which has I don't know how many thousand subscribers,
Yeah.
or hundreds, few hundred, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It was crazy amount of people that were on his Facebook page at that moment, and it just kind of picked up from there somehow. Um, and then so our third product was, let me open it, was ReAccess.
Yeah.
And ReAccess is modeling this absolutely classic device produced by Mesa, the Triaxis, which apparently was used and probably still used by such people as John Petrucci and Metallica and other awesome bands and musicians. And this is like, maybe was one of the most important products at that moment that we got released, because it was it kind of showed what is possible to achieve with those.
Slava.
Yeah,
So I'm
sure.
sorry, but I lost you for like 20 seconds. Now we're back.
Oh
So
crap!
now I hear you again. Yeah.
Where
So
where
we were talking about John Petrucci in around the 2000. He was using the ReAccess, and the rest I think is gone. But it was just like 10 seconds or something. Now we're back.
Okay, yeah. So I was talking about awesome, absolutely awesome bands that used this method Triaxis, and our idea of modeling it was like really welcomed by people. So we got like a lot of very happy people that said, "Okay, I have this rack, physical rack, where I have Triaxis and other funny things, and then now I have this like ReAccess on my computer, and I compare them, and it's crazy. It's kind of nearly impossible to distinguish the tone if I close my eyes and then someone kind of switches back and forth without knowing me which one was kind of chosen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to say which is which. So for us, this ReAccess was quite important product, and it kind of picked up. It was picked up by a lot more people than the previous ones, and slowly we got our brand into more hands, into more people's minds, so to speak.
Cool.
After ReAccess,
Just one second. I have just a question.
yeah,
The
sure.
ReAccess, there is Can you take it back 1 second, please?
Yeah, in a second. Here goes.
Yeah. Here on the interface we have like on the left
sorry.
side. Yeah, here we go. On the left side we have the gate. Now it's difficult to see from here because my monitor is kind of distant. But and then you have a wah pedal, and then you have a tube screamer.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people ask me how to use this wah pedal. Is there any particular? Because I think basically using as a plugin, you can use it with an automation on the track. That makes sense. Or can you use it also MIDI with some kind of foot controller or something?
Yeah, I think, the first obvious choice is, if you turn it on, is to write MIDI automation. So it will go up and down, up and down. Not this one, because this is velocity. This is how the pedal reacts to changes. But this is actually the one. As you can see, this is closed pedal. This is the open pedal. So this is going down and this is going up. Obviously, the first possible way to use it is to write automation in your DAW. But the second is to use a MIDI controller. If you have like a MIDI controller that you hook up to your DAW, and then within the DAW you basically set it up, you hook it up with ReAccess, and using the built-in DAW MIDI stuff, you can connect and just use your controller. I personally don't have like MIDI controllers that would work in a way that wah does, so I very rarely use wah. But I know people who.
I have the, I use the Camper sometimes, and I have the Behringer full controller, the standard with the Camper chip. So basically, you can use it this way. But usually, I just write in the automation when I had to use like this. And this is a cool thing because it's really difficult to find a plugin in the market with this kind of option, like having like the wah, and of course this with this sound, because the other brands, they did that in the past, but it was not sounding as good as this one.
It's cool. It's a nice kind of differentiator, so to speak.
Yeah, because nowadays when I do recording, usually I don't use the wah in the recording, because I want to record just the DI and then process it afterwards. So I prefer to do the wah thing afterwards.
Right.
In order not to regret, maybe, I don't like the way it sounds. I need to play that solo again, so I need to practice the solo for 1 week before I can make it again.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool thing to have,
Yeah. All right. Are there any more questions at this point?
Yeah, there are some. Let me see. There are a lot, actually.
We can look at some questions, and then I will go to 2 remaining plugins.
Yeah, let's do it. So let me see. Let me go back and find some questions. Let's import this one. What audio interface monitor do you recommend with Mercurial plugins? What PC specs do you recommend for home recording Mercurial plugins? This is a question that I want to ask, actually. Not exactly the interface and monitors kind of thing, but more about the PC specs, which is always my weak point because I'm not really a computer guy, and even if I learned a lot in the last couple of months, but still. So, just you can answer to the question.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with one important thing, is that Mercurial products are using multi-threading, which means the more cores your PC, your CPU will have, the better. Because let's say if you have only 2 cores, so 4 threads, you might have problems, because it might not be enough for the plugin just to kind of spread its wings, so to speak, in a technical way. If you have 4 cores, 8 threads, that's a different story. That should be a good starting point. And I would personally recommend, in terms of the CPU speed, I would personally recommend starting from 3.0 gigahertz and up in terms of the CPU speed. Um, Apparently, the best way to check how your plugin, how the plugin behaves on your system is just to get a demo version and run it. Demo version does not cost anything. So you can, let's say, install the demo, and here you can choose the, so to speak, well, it's actually oversampling. It's not, well, we call it quality, but it's oversampling. Oversampling, it's like, if we talk very simply, like enhancing the sound in a very simple terms. So with no oversampling, you will need less CPU, like a less powerful CPU to run the plugin, but maybe the sound will not be, in terms of quality, will not be optimal because you can select 2x oversampling or 4x or 8x oversampling. So if you want the maximum quality, so to speak, you apparently will need a faster CPU and more cores. So 4-core, and now actually the latest AMD CPUs, which are like have crazy amount of cores, like 8, 10, whatever, 12, 16. Apparently they are all cool for the plugins, because the plugin will spread out the load over all the cores. So in terms of other,
that's a great option anyways, because sometimes when you are just tracking the guitars, you want to track the guitar with the lower oversampling in a way, comparing to when you're doing a mix or whatever, because you're recording,
yeah,
and then when you're doing the mix, then you can just increase the quality of the sound later
yeah,
on.
absolutely.
So,
So if someone really likes the plugin, but it doesn't work with this 8x quality, it's not that bad. Maybe it works perfectly well in the 2x. Then you just play everything in 2x, record it, and before you do this, what's called mix down to MP3. What was it called? Render.
Bounce.
Or before you bounce or before you render, you just put the maximum quality, and because it's offline, it will not really matter what CPU you have. It will just take a bit more time to render the file. But in terms of other specs, well, in these days, I personally would not recommend anything lower than 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
It's best to have like 16 gigabytes of RAM. This is a
But
safe bet.
especially because we are working with all the softwares emulating drums. I mean, the drums, the MIDI stuff, and all those kinds of superior drummer and stuff. They are already using like at least 8 GB of RAM.
Yeah.
Just for the drums, at least.
So in terms of spec, like I would say that 8 gigabyte of RAM is minimum, but it's not really a requirement actually. The plugins could work with a less amount of RAM. I think it depends on how loaded your system is with stuff. How much stuff is eating up your RAM, how many you have left for other things like a plugin. So it really depends on on a situation. That's why I always recommend getting a demo version to check in a very specific environment that all of us have. And then in terms of other PC specs, well, what else plays the role? Well, SSD. I think SSDs are nowadays kind of very affordable. So SSD is just in my opinion, is a must. Like, of course, it will work with HDD, with a hard disk as well, but I think SSD, it just makes your life easier. Your computer just gets like a kind of a boost if you used HDD before. But in terms of audio interface monitors, it's a really it's a really wide topic, because there are different price ranges and absolutely crazy amount of options. But like for starters, many people choose Focusrite, those red boxes, which are okay and which work and don't cost a lot of money. But in the end, everything depends on how good the drivers of a sound card. If you have kind of a middle game drivers and you set the lowest buffer, so then when you play, there will be like a minimal latency before hitting strings and getting the output from your speakers. So if you have like a kind of middle of the game drivers, then if you put the lowest buffer, you might get some crackle, this digital crackle. It means that you need either more powerful CPU, or you need to increase the buffer, which also increases the latency. So latency is like when you hit the string and then when you actually get the sound from your monitors. Or another option is to get like a really good sound card. For example, RME cards. Maybe you heard about those RME cards. Their drivers are considered to be one of the best, if not the best, on the market in terms of stability and kind of quality. You can really you can put the buffer to 16 samples, and it will not produce any artifacts on a usual machine, which means that the latency, so this time after you hit the string and get sound from your monitors, this latency will be like absolutely minimal, like 3 milliseconds or 4 milliseconds. With Focusrite, you are getting around 8 to 10, I think, like this acceptable latency. But it really depends, like if you have a really, really good CPU, really fast, then apparently even with a kind of cheaper sound card, you will get a good latency.
Which one do you use usually when you work professionally? Because I know you do some mixing and those kind of things. We have been talking about that before.
Yeah, so I am using as my main card, I'm using SPL Crimson. It's like a really big box with a lot of knobs, and it actually doesn't have a digital mixer as a lot of cards have nowadays. But I really like that everything, all the kind of controls that you have there, they are physically available. All the knobs and buttons. Because if it's digital, you need to open the mixer and then you're like searching for what's turned on, and you have some pages
already on the screen.
Yeah, you have some pages in the mixer, you have some menus, but here I just glance on the card and I see, okay, I need to turn on dimming, let's say. I just press one button and that's it. And also if I need to adjust gain, I just take one controller and I adjust gain, that's it.
I also like the physical thing. I have still in the studio. I have an old school Studio Live Presonus
Right.
I don't know if you have heard of those. It's a mixer.
Presonus. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely heard about those.
Yeah. Good
And
preamps.
lately,
It's a bit old school now, but I still use it and it's kind of sounding good. And still latency is acceptable, or at least maybe I got used after so many years, but still
Yeah.
better than a lot of new cheap audio interfaces anyways, but at that time was kind of was not cheap at all when I bought it. I remember it was the new thing at that time.
All right.
So I think it's around $2,000 or something like that.
And also, like, I'm not an SPL endorser or artist,
Yeah, of course.
but if you want to hear like how the vocals sound through the SPL Crimson, maybe you're interested in that. There's like a channel called Metal versus Opera, and it has like cool content here. It has like covers from Rammstein to some classical music, so it's like from 0 to 100. So on this channel, if you want to hear how like vocals sound through the SPL Crimson, you can check it out.
I can play a little bit from YouTube now, maybe.
Yeah, okay, sure. I was doing those latest mixes here.
Yeah, we have been talking about it before, and you sent me the links, and I think it's the last one that you sent me here.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. It's good that there is no commercial now. Cool.
The best part. Oh, you missed it. You missed it.
Ah, sorry.
The growls. The growls.
Here we go. Yeah. It's coming.
I think if people want to hear more of it, they will do it later.
Just a small taste. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, we're back. Cool.
Hope so.
Yep.
Oh, I'm hearing my own voice.
Sorry. 1 second. Yeah. Do you still hear it? No. Now it's good.
Yes. No.
Yeah,
Good.
Cool.
Good now.
No, yeah,
it's good now.
It's good. Great.
Yes.
Cool.
Good. And where we were at interface and monitors, so
yeah,
I was. So I think I said something about interfaces and now monitors. I think in terms of monitors is
an individual thing.
It's like how much money you have, man.
Yeah.
Because I think in the monitors world, it can go really ugly. It can be like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 for one monitor, for one speaker.
Yeah.
But of course, this is like out of range for most people. So I don't know. It's really hard to suggest something because there are just so many options for beginners. I'm struggling to recommend something. I personally was using some cheaper KRK monitors, with these yellow cones.
The rocket.
I was using.
A lot of people mistake that for the VXT. I have the VXT, which are really good monitors, but they look exactly the same. But the cheaper version is the Rocket, and everybody who said my monitor in the video say, "Oh, you're mixing with that stuff," but they are completely different. It's two completely different range of price. But you're right. The Rocket are for more like to get started, and learn how to kind of mix it, recording and doing those kind of things. But I have a question for you. Do you think is there any monitors that might be better for working with plugins comparing to other monitors for doing other things, like recording amps? Is there something that the plugin, because, of course, even if I feel, like I told you in the beginning when we were checking the sound and stuff, that it's always difficult for me to choose if a song is supposed to be mixed with plugins or with amps, because it kind of sounds different, but I never really understand, quality-wise, which is the one that I prefer. Is there any monitor, or maybe sometimes it's even better like to mix with the headset? Do you suggest that or not?
Well, like in terms of monitors, what are the best for amp sims? My thinking, and it may be wrong thinking, I don't know, but my thinking is that if you're using amp sim, you apparently play guitar, which means that you are playing an instrument that mostly wants a good mid-range and high-end. You don't really need those boomy lows. You don't really need to go to the bass area. So I would be looking at monitors that in the reviews are regarded as maybe mid-focused. Because if you read reviews and the review says, oh, this speaker has a kind of boomy lows, probably I would not buy it for amp sims, because you don't need those absolute lows for a guitar sound. You want to concentrate on the mids and highs. Of course, you still have the low end, but it has to be kind of very, very balanced in terms of how much you want to have it, because you have it a little bit too much, and then you just get boomy, and the sound is kind of uncontrollable and muddy. But if you
let's say that you use like me, A string and 7-string guitar, really low tune and stuff, do you think it wouldn't be a good idea to have it more bass in order to understand which kind of parts of the guitar frequencies you need to cut out? You know what I mean? It makes more sensible in that area.
Well, if we're again, in my opinion, if we're talking already about mixing, it will be better to have a maybe starting point monitor and a very good room where you hear stuff correctly, than like empty walls like here and very awesome and expensive monitors. So it's all like related, it's very hard to say, is it good to have like speaker monitors that have extended lows? Of course it is good, but to understand how they work and how they react, you need to have like a very quality, you have to have a very good quality listening environment, because if you don't have it, the lows will just run everywhere in your room and reflect, and you will not understand anything. So it's not always monitors that is the most important link, the most important part in the link. It's also like the environment that has to match it. So in the end, I would suggest having a proper listening environment and lower end maybe monitors. Then you understand better how monitors work and what sound they produce. And then when you understand it, then you can upgrade to a more expensive monitors, and then you will kind of, okay, I see now why these monitors cost more than the previous ones. So you will understand the sound better,
Hmm. And what about the
I
second
think.
option, which is mixing on a headset? Like I'm talking more about like professional headset or the what is the name of the software? Sonarworks.
SonarWorks?
Yeah, it's the one that is. I think if it's the right name, with all those names, I don't know, but it's the one
SonarWorks.
that is emulating different headsets in order to and is kind of making them flat or something like that. I checked out
Yeah,
the
SonarWorks,
software when
it
I
kind
was.
of takes your default headphones and
Yeah,
applies a certain EQ curve
yeah,
to make them flatter,
yeah,
so that the response, so that like the um, frequencies that you're hearing are not boosted or cut uh, drastically. But I personally never used SonarWorks. I just know that
I
it
tried.
exists.
I tried and it was amazing. I
Mm.
just tried the NAM, but I never really like mixed with that. But I heard the way. I mean, I heard that, and the way it works, it worked. It was amazing. Really, it was completely changing the sound of monitoring in the
Mm.
headset. So
Yeah,
uh,
because I personally kind of not in a position to talk about mixing uh, in a professional way. I'm mostly like kind of person producing everything for myself or as a hobby.
yeah, mm,
Some people say that, "Hey Slava, your mix is cool," and I say thank you, but I would not never consider myself as a pro mixer. I'm very far from that. Um, so I wanted to go further with plugins.
yeah.
Um,
Here we go.
it's just like a story that I'm trying to
Yeah.
tell how the company kind of moved, which products
Yeah.
were released. So the fourth plugin that we released is SS11X, and from AMT, which is also like a Russian company, same as Mercurial. And this one is actually official emulation. So we have like agreement apparently with AMT to release those, to use their logo and to exactly mimic the um, the visuals of their preamp. It's a tube preamp. You can actually uncover the tubes,
Yeah.
and it
Which
has
is
like
cool.
some settings here. It actually has like a model and B model. So this A model, this kind of gray one, it was their first release, SS11A, and the B model, SS11B, is kind of a more modern version
Yeah.
of the device. It has like a thicker distortion and some kind of maybe a little bit, just a little bit cut out in the middle. But
Yeah.
it's not like a hole in the middle. It's just a little
Yeah.
bit kind of cut out in
Yeah.
the
A little bit
middle, just to
scoped.
make it like a modern sounding, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
And so this was like our first experience in modeling um, an it's like an officially supported modeling from the manufacturer, and it was also the first time where we introduced like a number of
Yeah.
IRs
Yeah.
created by various studios, and also some of our beta testers and artists. We have like impulses from Morton Studio. It's from Max Morton, who is producing Ginger. I don't know if you heard about that band. If not, you.
Yeah, I heard the name. Yeah.
If not, you should listen to Ginger right now.
Metal band. Metal band.
It's awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
it's metal band. It's a female-fronted metal band from
Yeah.
Ukraine. It's
Cool.
I probably not I'm probably not allowed to swear, so I will not use bad words. But you should really
No, you
listen
can
to it.
here on my channel. It's mandatory to do that.
Okay, no, I'm like
I didn't do that so far because I see that you're kind of polite. So
yes, I'm a polite person.
I don't want to be the first one who does that. So you're free to do that
All
whenever you
right,
want.
all right.
Yeah.
And then we have like impulses from various studios that are our beta testers, NRQ, Usan Works, from Igor, from Soundway Records, DA Production, and then we have like some from Ownhammer. I think this company is really known in the IR industry. And then Kratzes and Leon Todd are our artists. Leon Todd works a lot with fractal stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you heard it, maybe not. And has a cool band.
And of course you can import. Of course you can import your own ER.
Yes, you can by pressing this button. I will not press it because I don't know what will open up in my Windows Explorer, which paths. I will not do that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's also interesting that this is like, it's just a preamp. So this is a tube preamp.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask, should I use, if it's a preamp, should I use a power amp afterwards? And the answer is, if you use the built-in IRs, you don't have, because these IRs were shot with a tube power amp. It's kind of built into the IR.
So you think it's not a good idea to use it, or you can still combine those two things?
No, if you use like a SS11X as a preamp, and then you choose some.
But do you mean like the real unit, the physical one?
Well, doesn't matter. This or physical, they're identical.
Oh, yeah.
If you use this as a preamp, and then you choose a built-in IR, you don't have to use a power amp, because power amp is captured in the IR.
Of course.
But if you turn this off, not this off, but if you choose like a external IR, which does not, which not captured with a tube amp, it's like a linear. Then you have to use a power amp afterwards to make sure that your signal chain is complete. So that's kind of one thing people were asking. And I think because SS11X is like it has like minimal necessary things to get you running, and it sounds cool, and it's like a very simple kind of a usability here. And because it's the least expensive in our range, it got really popular.
Yeah. Well, like, I remember when it came out, the first thing, I was really impressed by the sound.
Yeah.
It was a big, I think for comparing to the previous products, which were really good, this was like way better, especially of course, I play metal, so for playing that kind of music, but even if like the clean, I really like the clean channel as well. But I remember like when I started with distortion with the lead channel, I was like, okay, that's what I need. It was perfect.
Cool.
That's why I still use it now, as to track the guitars and stuff.
And it's kind of light on resources. For example, Spark needs, because it was like, it doesn't have power amp here. That's why it's lighter on resources, because others have power amp built in, and they are kind of, they require a lot of resources to behave the way they behave.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was like a really cool plugin, and also we got some people with real AMT pedals that said, "Oh wow, you modeled AMT pedal. We have not expected that at all, because not many people like in the world know about AMT." Well, if we compare the AMT name to Mesa, well, apparently just more people know about Mesa than AMT. But it kind of brought the brand to a bigger market, hopefully. So more people heard about it. So before I move on to last plugin, do we have any questions or anything that people want to
I might have some
discuss?
questions.
Okay,
So,
cool.
let me put this. This is not really a question, but I mean it is a question, but it's not really related to the what we are talking
Yes.
about. But it's
Yes,
kind
it is.
to break sometimes.
It is Cyberpunk 2077. Absolutely. And I am into gaming. Yes, I think I'm not like a hardcore, like absolutely hardcore gamer that spends all his life in the games. No, but there are some games that I really like, and like Witcher series from CD Projekt Red, like 1, 2, 3, absolutely amazing. And of course, I'm waiting for Cyberpunk, and the thing is that it got kind of postponed is really bad. But from one side, but on the other side is because I'm waiting for a new card for my new computer build that I'm currently using here. I'm waiting for 3080, which is impossible to get at this moment. I ordered it, but I don't know when I will get it. So hopefully I will get it before Cyberpunk gets released. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. And one question for me. I'm wondering, I'm asking this around. Usually, when I track the guitars with the plugins, or in general, when I always track with plugins, no matter what. If I had to mix it and reamp with the Kemper with the real amp, and just leave the plugin on. And I usually track on the guitar on a DI with no compression, nothing. What do you suggest? Especially if you're planning to use a plugin to track in, do you usually use or you suggest to use a compressor, some kind of preamp in front? Because usually I do DI and then inside the audio interface, inside the mixer, and of course, you have a really high dynamic change according to the part that you play, and I sometimes it's that influences a little bit, not really like the plugin you use, but if I had to send it out and do the reamp, I need to tweak the sound a little bit in order to get it the way I want it. I feel it's different comparing to playing an amp in front with a microphone or playing into a DI and then reamping. I feel that the dynamic is, there is a high dynamic gap between one part and another one comparing to play a real amp. So do you suggest to use any compressor in front? Because I usually don't use compressor because I want to have the 100% control over the sound until the last moment. I don't want to retrack because suddenly I did something. I went to a point where I cannot come back, if you know what I mean.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When you're playing your 8-string into your hardware amplifier, are you using compressor in front?
I am not. I'm not, but I guess I get the compression of the tubes, the compression of the amp.
Okay.
If you know what I mean.
So this is
the dynamic feedback. Instead, when I'm playing the plugins, I guess you get some kind of a less a different feedback from that, if you know what I mean. Less dynamic changes. It's more
so
kind of
if we are coming from that angle, so when you plug in your guitar into hardware, real world amplifier without anything, just straight into it, I personally would suggest doing the same when playing with amp sims. It's important to note that when you plug into your guitar amplifier in the real world with a jack directly, this is just one move. You take the jack and you put it into your guitar amplifier. You don't have to think about any gain staging or levels. You just later you control your volume of the amplifier, but this is already the volume of a ready sound that the amplifier produced. In the amp sim world, you have a lot more variables. You first plug into your sound card, which in case of a very good sound card plays a smaller role. In the case of a lower budget sound card plays a much bigger role in what you will get in the end. So the most important thing here is to properly gain stage everything so that the card is getting proper levels and the amp sim is getting proper levels. And what I would suggest is messing with that instead of a compressor. So first thing that I would suggest, and we suggest as a company, as Mercuriall company, is that of course you need to plug into the instrumental input, not line input, instrumental of course. And then as a first step, you set up the gain, instrumental gain on your sound card. And we suggest setting it up in that way that when you hit strings real hard in the DAW in your DAW, for example Cubase, the input channel of your instrumental input would peak around -6 dB. So peak, that means when you hit hard, that peak reaches -6 dB. It might reach -3 as well. It's like somewhere in that range. But make sure it doesn't reach 0, because then it will clip, and clipping of the converters of your sound card is just a very bad noise. Unless there is some I don't know, some soft limiting built in, but not every sound card has it. So when you hit strings really hard, try to have your signal coming into DAW around -6 dB. This is your first.
Some headroom.
Yeah, you should have some headroom. This is your first step in setting up the gain staging. Then sound goes to the plugin, right? For example, in this case, I took Euphoria. It comes here into input. And as you can see, there is an input knob, which some people think is not important and leave it on default 3.3. But in fact, it is important, and actually is very important. And it's described in the manual as well. So the important thing is that when you reach that peak of -6 dB in your instrumental input, here you will need to adjust the value according to your guitar pickup. If, and here is some logic that here is some content that breaks logic of many people. If you have single coils, you will need to put the input somewhere around, I don't know, 2 to 3,
Yeah.
which like I'll explain in a second why. If you have like humbuckers which are not super high gain but like proper humbuckers, you might want to put your input from 4 to, I don't know, 6.
Okay.
And then if you have really hot pickups, humbuckers, you would want to put it to, I don't know, 7 to 8, 9 maybe. And people ask like, okay, why is it like that? If I have a single coil, I should push my single more, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of
And
wondering.
I will explain in a second. And if I have like humbuckers, crazy output, I should lower my input. But here is the thing. This is the signal. This is the control of the single signal that goes into the amp. In real life, you plug in jack into amp and there is no such control. The power that the amp is getting
Is
is coming from the guitar pickups. So if you have single coils, the amp gets lower signal, right?
Yeah.
It's a weaker signal than it would be humbucker.
I understand.
That's why we put less signal into the amp here if we have single coils. If I have high output humbuckers, in real world, I just plug directly into amp and amp gets this hot humbucker signal. But in our world, I mimic that with this. I put, let's say, 7, which means that a hot humbucker sound is coming into Euphoria.
Yeah.
And this is like where a lot of people make mistake.
Yeah.
So the point is that the weaker your guitar pickup is, the lower should be your input here. The higher the output of your guitar pickup, the higher should be the input here.
In a way, you have to be conscious about how you usually play when you use amps and kind of emulate the same thing using the plugins in order to ask for the plugins to work in a similar way. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to be like really conscious. Like I want to reiterate that people should not underestimate this setting in the input signal. It really affects. We cannot show it now, but maybe people can try like download demo or something. Or if they already have plugin, they can really try to put, let's say, the input on 2 or input on 8, and then they will see the difference. They will hear the difference. So it's really important not to underestimate the input control.
Yeah, makes sense.
And maybe the thing that you're talking about is
that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Is that you don't get enough of this kind of sustain or something. Maybe it comes from there because
no, I'm sure it comes from there. It comes from the way that I don't let the plugin behave like an amp, because I am not behaving in the same way like when I'm plugging into an amp. So it's my
maybe
responsibility.
Because I know you have like an 8-string, and I assume it has like a high output pickups, right?
Yeah.
if you set it here,
extremely high output.
yeah,
Like this
if
one
you
has
set it,
balloons going.
yeah, if you set it here, like 2, 3, 4, it will not behave like it should. You need
Right.
to crank it up. You need to put it to,
Yeah.
I don't know, 6, 7, even 8
and,
maybe.
and that's why then when I'm doing like the reamp, then I have to tweak it more. I have to increase the gain comparing to when I'm playing directly into an amp. And I thought it was. I think it's because of this, and because also the. I guess the. I don't know. I think it's more about that. I think it's more about the thing that you are playing in a different way comparing to playing an amp, just because the setting that you are doing is different. So when you're then playing into an amp, of course it doesn't sound the way that it's supposed to sound, so it might be that I actually doing this kind of thing, I can reduce the difference between tracking with the plugin and then reamping with an amp, having more like of a standard level
Yeah.
of dynamic probably.
And it's also kind of, if you're playing with plugins, then most probably you are getting sound either from monitors
Monitor.
or from headphones, which means that you're using an IR, you're using this impulse response. And impulse response, in its essence, is just a snapshot of a guitar cabinet producing sound. It's a snapshot. And this is like it's coming from your monitors. And monitor is not a cabinet. It's not a guitar cabinet. It's totally. It's like a different construction. It has absolutely different speakers. Versus if you would use like an amp with a cabinet, not mic'd, but sound going into your face. These are like two different things that people also kind of confused about, or are not entirely understanding the difference. So in the end, a lot of variables in play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And also like there's a lot of arguing. Amp sims are not good enough. I will continue using my hardware amp. Or some people say that the hardware amps are obsolete because amp sims are sounding so good these days. I personally think that both of those have a right to live, of course. You just use them according to your needs. If I'm in this small room, I just cannot use like a 100-watt tube amplifier with a 4x12 cabinet here. I will use like amp sim into headphones and get a great sound. And on the other side, if I have a rehearsal room that is really well treated, and I have like this cool tube amplifier physical, and I have a cabinet and I can crank it, of course I will. And if I have a microphone and I know how to record properly, I will record it. So I think in the end those kind of fights are maybe irrelevant. Maybe people will never get to mutual understanding.
Yeah, well, as I told you before, I'm really confused sometimes, but not because of what people think, but I really don't know what to think, because the plugins, they sound great. And the amp sounds great, because it sounds like an amp in a way, if you know what I mean, like a mic in the cab, and you get a little bit of different feeling. And then there are the processor, which I usually don't use them like the pedals. Like I'm a hot tone audio guy, and I have my Ampero, which is a great pedal, but I use it live. I use it a lot live. In the studio, I just use it for the demo, honestly. But when I have played live, 90% of the times I had my Ampero with me. Sometimes I played just with my laptop with the Mercurial plugins, and I don't use an amp live since some years now. And I don't mic the amps so much, but sometimes I do it. But I get really confused when I had to mix it, if I had to go just because I track with the plugins, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it sounds already like right. Why am I supposed to reamp it? And then I reamp it, and it sounds a bit different, and I'm still okay. It's really difficult to we reach the point where you can do a decent recording with all these free devices in a way. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
recording,
always difficult.
like getting a really good sound out from a real tube amplifier and guitar cabinet, getting a really good sound of this combination with a mic is a really tough task. If you
And
just
it's
throw it,
time consuming as well.
yeah, you have to have a
A room.
properly treated room. You have to have a good environment. You have to know the technique. Like you have to listen, to where you put the mic. It's not just that you randomly throw it in and it sounds good. Maybe you're lucky. Maybe you're lucky and you will throw it in and it will sound good. But it's just luck. If you want to consistently get very good results, you have to study this. And like recording a guitar cabinet is an art. You have to spend like years to master it, to get good sound. And kind of in plugins, you have this opportunity to do less movements to get a really good sound.
So my choice, I'm sorry, my choice usually is dictated by at the end of the day by the time I have to do something, because with the plugin, it is really less time consuming because I have my presets ready and then I had to tweak it a little bit and the sound is basically kind of done. Instead, if I had to mic a cab, I had to mic the cab. It had been mic'd for ages, so I know how to do it. But then still, I had to edit in 3 different tracks, So then I have to choose the right when I have like on the plugin is really really easy to use it, and also doing like the reamp with the camper or with the processor is also kind of easier. But still, the easiest thing is to use the plugin, So it's just a matter of time, and one should actually try to do the free things and then compare and decide which one is more fits more the music, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's a matter of taste, I guess. But I'm sorry for interrupting. If you remember what you were talking about, you can keep going.
No, not really. I was saying that if you record a real amp and cab, you have to master.
Yeah.
You have to master this to get great tones. And it might be easier to get a really good tone out of the amp sim because you just can work faster. It's on your monitor. You just move things really fast. You don't go to control room to move the mic. And you don't have to deal with the room treatment. You might put your headphones on and just sit in front of your computer. So it's just another way of fulfilling your kind of musical and artist needs. It's alternative.
And you saving a little bit of time, you can focus on the playing instead. Because honestly, focusing on 2 things at the same time, usually when I play, I just need to really be there with my mind, not to go from one room to the other room and then thinking about, maybe that microphone should have been in another position or whatever. You need to sit down for several hours and get into that. So it might be.
And it's and it's actually one important thing that some people disregard, but it's actually an important thing is that with software you get consistency. you get a consistently good result. If you create, let's say, a cool preset that you like, you just load it and that's it. It sounds exactly the same every freaking time. In the tube amp world, just a different location might mean fluctuations in the grid, electrical grid. And your tubes, your transformers, they will behave a bit differently. Or if there's a bad electricity grid, you might damage it, or the tubes might not get enough voltage or more voltage than needed, which means that your amp will behave differently.
They get
And then you need to replace tubes and so on and so forth. So it's like I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that you need to do these things. You just have to replace tubes at some point of time, and you have to kind of make sure that your power is consistent and it's enough. And this is the thing that you don't have to worry in the ampsing world. You just use software, plug it in, and you have exactly same result all the time. That's one of the things that for me is like how do I put it? It's one of the things that I love about amp sims.
Yeah.
Not just Mercurial, but any other. Is that it's software.
What do you think about the use of plugins live? Because we have been talking about more in the studio, but what is your take on using plugins live? There are not so many bands doing that, but I think it's a really practical way to, nowadays we tend to, especially with metal bands, to try to do a click track and everybody play after the click track, and a lot of bands, they prefer to use the X Effect or Camper via MIDI and synchronize that together with the click track. But I was thinking about doing the same, but using just plugins. Exactly like with all the automation, exactly like in the album. Basically, it's the same mix of the album. It's just that you play live.
Yeah.
And what do you think about
that? When I had my time on stage quite a few years ago with different bands, at that point amp sims were not that good. I would not use an amp sim because the sound was for me was not on the level it should be. So I was using tube amps. And now that there are really cool products in the latest years, I'm not playing live myself anymore. But I would love to. I'm not sure if I would ever get back to playing live somewhere. But I think if I would, at some point, at some point, I would really love to try a plugin as my live sound, because I would just set it up, come to the stage, put it to monitor mix, and then apparently I will need to adjust EQ to make sure that when I make it loud, that the EQ will not behave like unexpectedly, because if you make it loud, you apparently will need to cut your lows and your highs. So you will need to make some adjustments. But I think
now you're talking about the your monitor, personal monitor, or you're talking about the house?
I think it's both. I think if it will go to house, I will not want.
Then back to you.
Yeah, I will not want to send a kind of a broken sound there. I would want to send a sound that is as good as possible. So I will still mess with the cues on the stage. Because apparently at home I cannot create a preset at such high volume. and we know this Fletcher-Munson curve. I don't know if you know about it. So the person's ear kind of hears the sound differently on different volumes. So the higher the volume is,
So you
the
would
more
EQ every
different
single.
the more
You would
different the ear
EQ.
would respond.
You would EQ every single sound that you have in the songs, or just
Well,
from place to place.
I'm I might have some master cue somewhere there
Okay,
with
got it.
broad strokes, so
Got
to
it.
speak. But I
Which is the
think,
same that you do. Which is the same that you do when you play with an amp.
yeah,
You kind of EQ according to the way that it sounds in that on that stage or in that
yeah.
club. Yeah.
So my opinion, if you have like a stable system, stable computer, updated, a good sound card with stable drivers, good DAW, and you have prepared a good sound, I see no reason why it should not be possible to use a plugin live. Maybe you just need to adjust it to a live situation. You need to adjust the sound to the live situation versus the sound you would have playing through your headphones. But it's realistic, and I know there are, for example, Mercurial artists that are using Mercurial products live.
Yeah. Well, I did during the clinics. I usually use plugins or
Yeah,
full controllers. I never use
I
amps.
think it's absolutely a viable option.
Yeah.
It's for example, you can of course use a modular, let's say a Hotone or something else, but it's a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
If you want to save space, you have your computer, you have your small, maybe even smaller than this processor, you have your very small sound card, and that's it. You don't need anything else. And maybe for some people who frequently fly, space
Yeah.
is one of the most important
Yeah.
factors.
For me, it's the most important factor.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The first one, which
For
is space. I mean,
example,
it was when we were supposed to fly.
yeah. So for example, you take your laptop anyway, right?
Yeah. Right.
And then you have, let's say, a processor that is that big,
Yeah.
and it weighs I don't know 5 kilos, for example. And then you have your sound card, which is that small, and it weighs I don't know 1 kilo. And then at some point, you're like, okay, I have too many things with me, so I need now to decide, should I take my processor or not? And then you're like, okay, if I take my processor, then I'm overweight. I will need to pay extra or whatever. And I think, okay, I have my computer and my small sound card. I will play that clinic or gig through a plugin.
Well,
I will just
well,
prepare everything, automate everything, and I don't even need a foot controller because everything is automated.
That's actually the point. You don't need to care about anything. You just play. I used believe it or not, I used the iRig HD USB. So
All
the
right.
audio interface was that big.
Yeah.
And that's a great tool because you can even like play with the really high sample rate. Sounds brilliant. It's so small. You can even monitor yourself from the headset output. Just computer and a small interface like this, and it was sounding great. And I was thinking about using the plugins to play live with bands, ones that we open up afterwards.
If
And if yeah. Otherwise, we still. Otherwise, you know what? We are still doing what we are doing now, and
yes,
it's great. Anyways, I'm gonna play one song and we just talk for 2 hours like we're
we've
doing
been
now.
talking a lot. Maybe people have something to say.
Yeah, if they didn't go to sleep, let me see. Because looks like somebody went to sleep, or at least
We
I don't get
should
any other messages here.
soon. We should also go to sleep.
Yeah, I think so. Also because in your places now is 11:30, so it's almost
11:30.
almost
Yes.
time. Yeah, and let me see. I had still one question here. Yeah, you were talking about we were talking about before plans for the future. You know the company
Yes.
like Mercurial Audio. You have like I think I know that you have some products that they are gonna release in the in the next few months. Is that right? Or that
A
was
lot.
maybe a prior COVID thing, and then because I know that a lot of companies they kind of stopped a little bit because of this pandemic, you know, especially those who make guitars and amplifiers and those kind of things.
You know,
Also, there are less, yeah.
a lot of, because I'm dealing with artist and partner relation and sorry, partner public relations. A lot of people are asking me, "Hey Slava,
Now you're
when
back.
are you
Yeah.
releasing something and what it will be?" But it's very hard to make me open some secrets.
Yeah. Yeah. But you are
Which
working
means
on some
that
products.
which means that I never say anything about future releases to anyone before it's actually announced, except for our beta testers team. Apparently, they are testing a pre-release software, and also some artists that get pre-release software as well. So to answer your question is we are working on something. Let me see how can I put it. So our kind of a short-term plan is to take this Euphoria kind of a base, the UI base of Euphoria, and then bring existing plugins into this interface.
Cool.
So, for example, we would want the first plugin hopefully to be U530 because it's our oldest plugin and it gets less love than the latest ones, which is a shame. So the kind of plan is to keep this upper bar and this left bar as the kind of base of a plugin, and then incorporate existing ones into the screen where the Euphoria amp is located. I've seen like early renders of how U530 might look in this interface, and it looks really good.
I feel that you since the beginning you started out, you made some products, and then you had already this idea of kind of on the next product incorporating something from the previous one. You know, like the Tube Screamer, or doing some kind of interface which is more or less like an update of the previous one, of course with different sound and all this. But I already had like that you had this vision in a way.
Yeah.
Does that
so
make sense?
You know, like with every plugin, because we are a very small company and we started to learn how to produce plugins ourselves and how to build UI. With each plugin, we had implemented some ideas that we had in our head. And then eventually Euphoria is our kind of vision of a unified platform.
Exactly.
where we want to make everything happen. So having separate plugins, as it is right now, we have 5 plugins, right? 5 plugins, and each of them is a separate plugin. And this is, in terms of development and small team, it's extremely hard. If you want to make a change, let's say we want to add, let's say here we have
like you want to use a ReAccess preamp.
A grid smasher. Let's say we have a grid smasher pedal. We don't have it in Spark. I think we don't have it in ReAccess, if I'm not mistaken. So
in
if
ReAccess,
we want to,
have it. I think you have it in ReAccess. You don't have it in the 530.
Oh, okay. In 530 we don't even have pedals, I think. Well, the point is that if we want to incorporate some feature into existing plugins, we have to update 5 of them. And they are all different right now. So it would be extremely hard to do that and still continue developing new products. So our goal is to move to one plugin which we can constantly update, where we can add features and where we can add new amps. And it will not be 5 separate or 6 or 10 separate plugins that we have to chase and update each one of them. It will be just one product that is constantly updated and refreshed, and people are used to this UI, and it will just make more sense. There was actually one comment that you just closed from Marth.
Hold on.
Marth T.
I thought that you already answered about that.
This is hi Slava. Marth T. It's our engineer.
So he's Slava.
Slava.
As well.
This is Slava.
Hi, Slava.
This is another Slav in our team. This is our engineer who is basically working with hardware and modeling and graphic design. Graphic design, Slava is doing
great job, man. Great job, by the way.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. He's doing the graphic design. So he says, Noise Factory, a pleasant surprise awaits you soon about the U530. So this is like the thing that I just talked about, is that our short-term plan is to incorporate U530 into the Euphoria shell platform, so to speak. And then we would really want to do the same with all the existing products. The schedule is not yet clear, and I will not talk about it in detail. Maybe we will incorporate U530 and then release something new, absolutely new, in this new kind of shell platform. Maybe not. Maybe we will incorporate existing or some of the existing products and then release something new. No details yet, but overall, you can see where we're going.
I'm glad that I already made you speak a little bit about future plans, anyways, because in the beginning you were completely no comment, but then we got something at least, and it's a great idea. It reminds me a little bit of the idea that Synergy amps came up with the modules, you know? In a way, which is great because like this, you don't need to switch from one plugin to another one. You just use one and you can just change in a way the chord of the amp in a way. But I believe that then you can choose to use like a ReAccess preamp together with Euphoria power amp. Is gonna be something like that probably. I know that you already spoke a little bit too much about those future plans, but I in my mind I see that like this.
Well, apparently, ReAccess U530, SS11X. These are all preamps, and they will apparently be somehow bundled with a tube power amp in this on this platform.
Cool.
Which power amp it will be, I cannot say right now, but there will be a power amp kind of bundled with them to make sense.
A new one.
I don't know.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. The last question, is that okay? That's
Sure.
kind of easygoing. I'm wondering if why you still didn't do, or why you're not planning to do like bass plugins or other VST instruments. Is that an idea that you had in the past? Is that something that you are interested in doing, or you just are following the path of the niche of the guitar?
Well, in terms of bass plugin, we are not intentionally ignoring them. We don't have anything against bass.
Of course.
It's just somehow that the flow we are in right now, it's about guitar plugins. I am sure, forgive me, Slava and Vladimir, that at some point of time we will have a bass plugin.
Yeah.
But
great.
maybe not this year. No.
Maybe not during a pandemic, but maybe
not
after
next
it.
year. Maybe not 2022. Maybe not 2023. I don't know, but I believe
Cool.
I believe that at some point of time we have to do a
It's
bass
gonna
plugin.
happen. Right.
It's
Right.
I think, guys, Slava and Vladimir, at some point of time, if you're listening, of course, we should do bass plugin.
Yeah. I'm looking for some great bass sound. I still didn't achieve. I'm working on that. So if you do something like this, it's gonna be awesome. So
Yeah, I hope so, because mixing bass is a totally different story.
Yeah, especially in metal. It's always complicated.
Yeah, and there are quite a lot of really cool bass related plugins. But I think we can achieve if not more, but a same quality and maybe a little bit in kind of a different direction. So I personally think that world at some point of time will get the Mercurial bass plugin.
Great.
I really hope that it happens.
And some other VST plugins like libraries, drums, or other kind of software, more drums or orchestra related.
I mean, I cannot say no to anything, but sample libraries are unlikely, especially drums. You have to have a extremely good room, extremely good drums, extremely good drummer.
Well, in that case, you can always hire a studio wherever and work just on the software part of the program.
I don't know, man. I just don't know. We are a really small team right now, so it's four persons. It's
wow.
Slava, engineer, UI, graphics, many other things. Vladimir is programming and also doing a lot of modeling and other stuff, website. We have, I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name. Maybe I will not tell his name. in the stream, a guy who is working on supporting our customers, um, and customers are really happy with the support they're getting.
Yeah.
And then it's
And it's
me
really
who, and
difficult.
then
It's
it's
a
me
really
who's
difficult
dealing.
job because I guess they're really demanding usually.
Well, yeah,
Especially
CS
guitar
is
players. Especially guitar players, they are really like nerd in a way. Really like
customer
with a lot of
support.
attention to the details.
Customer support is not an easy task. It's
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
an everyday. It's a hard job,
Yeah.
and we have cool customer support. And then it's me, fourth person, who is doing like the marketing, PR, and artist relations and stuff. We just at this moment we don't have like a human capacity to do like different things. That's the answer. Maybe when we grow as a company, I don't know where we will move, but
Yeah.
it might be totally realistic if some sample library comes after 5 or 10 years. I don't know. Maybe.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Are there any other? Sorry.
No, I think we are actually wrapping that up.
All right.
And I just wanted to say that you do a great job. You know, the products you have been releasing along the years, they are great. You know, they are functional, and I always use them in the studio, and I'm really proud that I have a good relationship with you guys.
Thanks, man.
I hope we get the chance in the future to meet in person, like
We will, of course.
at the NAM show or at the Music Messe, you know. So maybe in the next years, in the next couple of years after the pandemic or something, you know.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
But I want to thank you very much for doing this, and we actually hit 2 hours and 60 minutes.
Oh shit!
And I think people like that, and thank you very much for everybody who came and who showed up and wrote questions, and we're gonna still answer to the questions via YouTube and Facebook. Still, we have a message from Antoine, the last one.
Oh.
Before wrapping it up, thank you so much for this live. I have to learn how to properly use my amp sims, and you have helped a lot. Time to go to sleep. Yes, I guess it is.
All right.
Thanks again, and take care, everyone. So, yeah.
Cool.
Slava, thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody at Mercuriall and everybody home for following us.
Thanks, man. Like it's my first. Really, it's my first live stream in my life, and
I'm glad it was with me. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm really glad it was with you, man. Like I hope it went smoothly.
Yeah, I think it went great. We actually spoke about a lot of contents, you know, educational wise, you know.
So, and if there was at least one person who we helped during this crazy 2-hour talk, then it's already an achievement, I think.
Well, you helped me. Well, I'm sure with a lot of things. One of those things is related to the tracking the guitars with the plugins and all those.
All right.
Things. That's why I wanted to ask you those questions, because I was really wondering about what's your take about all those kind of things, because you really know how a plugin works. You know, I'm just like a user of the plugin. I know what it sounds good and what it doesn't sound good, and how to make it sound good in the mix, but still I had to learn a lot of stuff, you know, in the studio, especially because in this environment things are evolving all the time, so you need to keep being informed. So
I'm glad that I was of some help at least.
Absolutely, that was really educational, I think.
Thanks,
so, man.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and let's talk soon in the next couple of weeks. Okay.
Well, let's see. Apparently you will have another speaker, someone else, or maybe me. I don't know. Maybe we could do that after some time.
Yeah. I think we should do that. I need to fix the logistic to do that live, because you know usually with this kind of streams is always like you always need a lot of preparation, especially if you need to play online, using the same PC. So let me figure something out, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna do something else together,
Yeah.
which is gonna be more
Maybe
like
if I figure out my environment, how to play live and stream, maybe I can also play some guitar stuff and
yes,
I don't know, show
absolutely,
some like a tone, not tone tutorial, but how I tune my tones or something. I play metal if it makes any
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Uh,
So we're gonna know also the Slava guitar player, not just the Slava from Mercurial Audio, which is already
ah,
enough, anyways.
all right, man. Thanks.
Yeah,
Just
no
few
problem.
riffs would be enough.
Yeah, yeah,
I would be
cool.
happy forever.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's plan it
All
in
right.
the next few weeks. Let me fix this computer first.
Sure. Yeah,
Thank
and
you very much,
again,
man.
thank you to everyone who
Thank you.
joined. I have
Absolutely.
no idea who was watching it. Maybe
Well, we
everyone
see
from.
Antoine was here, Eric was here, and Marv was here. And let me see, David was here, Suzuki. And my friend Joshua from Texas was here. And many other people were here. So,
All
and we're
right.
gonna get more and more people watching us in the next couple of days because the thing is still gonna be online. So
All right.
we're
Cool.
gonna
Cool.
answer to all the questions. Man,
Sure.
again, thank you very much. Let's talk soon.
Yep. Let's do it, man. Now I have to find a way to. Well, apparently, I will press this Leave Studio button, right?
Well, 1 second, just 1 second.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm gonna see you offline in 1 second. Cheers.